If you were born before 1964, there's a real chance Social Security is quietly sitting on money that has your name on it, and most people walk right past it for years without ever knowing. I'm talking about real dollars, in some cases adding up to nearly $19,860 over the course of a single year. Money that's tied up in rules nobody bothered to explain to you when you signed up. And before you roll your eyes and think this is one of those too good to be true stories, stick with me, because what I'm about to walk you through comes straight from the Social Security Administration's own 2026 numbers, the ones that just took effect this January. This isn't a loophole, it's not a scam, and you don't need to hire anybody. It's simply money that's built into the system that millions of retirees never claim because they don't know the right questions to ask. So if you've got a few minutes, sit back, get comfortable, because by the end of this, you're going to look at your monthly check very differently. Now, here's the thing, and I want to be straight with you from the very start because that's how we do things here at Retire Mentor. I'm not going to promise you a magic check in the mail. What I am going to do is show you exactly where the gaps are, the same gaps that the Social Security Administration confirms cost ordinary retirees real money every single month. And if even one of these applies to you, the few minutes you spend with me today could be worth more than anything else you do this week. So do me a quick favor right now before we get deep into it. If you find this helpful, hit that subscribe button down below. It costs you nothing, it keeps these videos coming, and honestly, it's the only way the algorithm lets folks your age actually find this kind of information instead of burying it. Subscribe and let's keep going. Let me start with the number everybody's talking about this year, because it sets the stage for everything else. In 2026, Social Security gave out a cost of living adjustment of 2.8%. Now, 2.8% might not sound like a fortune, but here's what it means in real terms. The average retiree's monthly check went up by about $56, pushing the typical benefit to around $2,071 a month, up from 2015 the year before. And for married couples, the jump was even bigger, an average of $88 more a month, bringing the typical couple's benefit to about $3,208. That's straight from the SSA's official announcement back in October. So already, just from this year's adjustment, money is moving. But here's the part that catches people off guard, and I want you to really hear this because the cost of living adjustment is just the surface. It's the part everybody sees. The real money, the money that adds up to that $19,000 figure I mentioned, is hiding underneath, in the rules most retirees never think to check. So let's talk about the first big one, and this is the one that gets married couples and widowers more than anything else. It's called the spousal benefit, and the number of people who leave this on the table is genuinely staggering. Here's how it works in plain English. If you're married, you may be entitled to a benefit based on your spouse's earnings record, not just your own. And that spousal benefit can be worth up to half of what your higher earning spouse gets at their full retirement age. In 2026, the maximum spousal benefit reached $2,076 a month. Now let that sink in for a second. $2,000 a month just from being married to someone who paid into the system at a higher level than you did. A lot of folks, especially women who took years off to raise children or care for family, earned far less over their careers, and they assume their tiny benefit is all they'll ever get. But that's often flat out wrong. If half of your spouse's benefit is bigger than your own, Social Security is supposed to pay you the higher of the two. And if you never claimed it, that's money slipping away month after month after month. And here's where curiosity should be kicking in because I haven't even told you the strangest part yet. There's a quirk in this spousal rule that almost nobody understands, and it can work for you or against you depending on how you play it. But before I get to that, I want to make sure the right people see this video because this information genuinely changes lives and most channels won't talk about it plainly. So here's my second favor. If you know someone, a spouse, a sibling, a friend from church, anyone born before 1964, share this video with them. Just send the link. You might be the reason they finally claim what they're owed. Sharing it costs you nothing, and it could be the most valuable thing you pass along all year. All right, let's get into that quirk. Here's the strange thing about spousal benefits that trips so many people up. Unlike your own retirement benefit, the spousal benefit does not grow if you delay it past your full retirement age. With your own benefit, every year you wait past full retirement age up until 70, you earn what's called delayed retirement credits, and your check gets bigger by as much as 24% if you hold out all the way to 70. That's a powerful tool, and we'll come back to it. But the spousal benefit doesn't work that way. It caps out at your full retirement age. Waiting longer does nothing for it. So if you've been sitting there thinking you should delay claiming your spousal benefit to get a bigger payout, you may have been losing money for no reason at all. Nobody tells you this. The SSA doesn't call you up and explain it. You have to know to ask. And that's exactly the kind of gap that quietly drains thousands of dollars from people who did everything else right. Now let's talk about full retirement age itself, because in 2026, this is a bigger deal than ever, and it directly affects everyone born before 1964 and after. For anyone born in 1960 or later, full retirement age is now 67. That's the finish line where you get 100% of what you earned. Claim earlier at 62 and you take a permanent cut, as much as 30% less, locked in for life. Claim later, all the way to 70, and you get that 24% boost on top. Now, if you were born before 1964, you're already past that 67 mark or right around it, which means your full retirement age has already passed. And here's the critical question. Did you claim at the right time? Because a lot of people grab their benefits early out of fear or necessity, and they're now living on a permanently reduced check without realizing there might have been a better path. I'm not saying you made a mistake. Life happens, bills come due, and sometimes you claim when you have to. But understanding this is the first step to knowing whether there's anything you can still do. And there sometimes is, which we'll get to. Let me bring in another number that surprises people, the earnings limit, because this one trips up folks who kept working after they started collecting. If you claim Social Security before your full retirement age and you were still bringing in a paycheck, the SSA may have been holding back part of your benefit. In 2026, if you were under full retirement age for the whole year, the earnings limit is $24,480. Earn more than that, and they deduct $1 for every $2 you go over. And for the year you actually reach full retirement age, the limit jumps way up to $65,160 with a gentler deduction of $1 for every three over. Now here's the part almost nobody knows, and this is huge, so don't miss it. That money they held back, you don't lose it. Not really. Once you hit full retirement age, the SSA recalculates your benefit and gives that money back to you in the form of a higher monthly check going forward. So if benefits were withheld from you in past years and your check never seemed to go up the way it should have, that could be a flag worth investigating. People assume that withheld money just vanished. It didn't. But you have to make sure the recalculation actually happened correctly because errors do occur. And speaking of errors, this brings me to maybe the single most important thing I can tell you today, and it's something you can act on the moment this video ends. Your entire Social Security benefit is built on one thing, your earnings record. Every year you worked, every dollar your employer reported, all of it feeds into the formula that decides your check. And here's the uncomfortable truth. That record is not always right. Employers make mistakes. Wages get reported under the wrong year or the wrong name or get left off entirely. Maybe you changed your name after marriage and a few years got disconnected. Maybe you had a side job that never got logged. Every single one of those gaps can shrink your benefit, sometimes by a lot, and the SSA generally isn't going to catch it for you. You are the only one watching your own record. So the action step here is simple. Go to the official Social Security website, ssa.gov, and create what's called a My Social Security account. It's free. Once you're in, you can pull up your full earnings history and check it line by line against your own memory and your old tax records. If you spot a year that looks too low or a year that's missing, that's potential money owed to you and you have the right to get it corrected. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds like a lot of homework, and I get it, I do. But stay with me, because here's why it matters so much, and here's where all these numbers start to add up to that figure I promised you at the start. Think about it. The average couple's benefit went up by $88 a month this year alone. That's over $1,000 across the year just from the adjustment. Add in an unclaimed or underpaid spousal benefit, which can run hundreds or even over $1,000 a month for those who qualify. Add in withheld earnings that should have been recalculated back into your check, and add in corrections to an earnings record that was undercounting you for years. Stack those together, and for a lot of households, you're not talking about pocket change. You're talking about thousands upon thousands of dollars a year. money that frankly you already earned. That's where a figure near $19,860 over a year stops sounding crazy and starts sounding like a real possibility for the right person in the right situation. It's not a guarantee, and I'd never insult you by promising one. But it is absolutely on the table for people who check. Let me tell you about a man I'll call Robert, because his story pulls all of this together, and I think you'll see a little of yourself in it. Robert worked construction his whole life, good honest work, claimed his Social Security at 62 because his knees gave out, and he figured he'd take what he could get. His wife, Carol, stayed home most of those years, raising their three kids, then worked part-time at a school later on. Carol's own benefit was tiny, maybe a few $100s, and she just assumed that was that. For years, the two of them got by on Robert's reduced check and Carol's little one, never questioning it. Then one day, their daughter sat them down and walked them through exactly what I'm walking you through right now. They created the online account. They pulled the earnings record. And two things jumped out. First, Carol had never claimed her spousal benefit, the one worth up to half of Robert's full amount, which was far more than her own. Second, there were 2 years on Robert's record where his wages had been badly underreported by an old employer. They filed to fix both. It took some patience, some phone calls, some paperwork, but the result changed their retirement. Carol's monthly income went up substantially, and Robert's correction bumped his check too. Over a year, the difference was life-altering money for a couple living on a fixed income. And the kicker? It had been there the whole time. Nobody had stolen it. They just never knew to look. That's the part I really want you to hold on to. This isn't about getting something you don't deserve. It's about claiming what's already yours, what you spent a lifetime of work paying into. The system is enormous and complicated and honestly not designed to be easy to understand. And that complexity is exactly why so much money goes unclaimed. The people who get every dollar they're owed aren't smarter than you. They just knew which doors to knock on, and now you do too. So let's talk about what you actually do with all this. Step by step, nice and simple. First, set up that free account at ssa.gov and look at your earnings record with your own eyes. Don't assume it's correct. Verify it. Second, if you're married, divorced after at least 10 years of marriage, or widowed, find out whether a spousal or survivor benefit would pay you more than what you're getting now, because survivor benefits in particular can be worth up to the full amount your late spouse was receiving, and that's a whole conversation many widows and widowers never have. Third, if you kept working while collecting before full retirement age, check whether withheld benefits were properly recalculated and added back to your check once you hit full retirement age. And fourth, if anything looks off, contact Social Security directly and ask. You have the right to an explanation and the right to file for corrections. None of this requires a lawyer or a paid service. It requires you knowing it exists, which now you do. I also want to gently warn you about something because I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't. Anytime there's money and older Americans involved, the scammers come crawling out. So hear me clearly. The real Social Security Administration will never call you out of the blue demanding gift cards, threatening to arrest you, or asking for payment to release your benefits. The only website you ever need is ssa.gov, the official one. Everything I've described today is free to do yourself. If anyone ever asks you to pay a fee to claim your Social Security, or pressures you to act fast or send money, hang up the phone. That's not how any of this works. Protecting what you're owed also means protecting yourself from the people who'd love to take it. Now, as we start to wrap up, I want to circle back to where we began because I told you at the start that by the end you'd look at your monthly check differently, and I hope you do. That check isn't just a number the government decides to hand you. It's the result of a lifetime of your work, calculated through a maze of rules, some of which may not be working in your favor right now. The 2.8% raise this year was nice, but it's the smallest piece of the puzzle. The real money, the kind that can add up to thousands over a year, lives in the spousal benefits people forget to claim. The survivor benefits widows and widowers don't realize they qualify for, the withheld earnings waiting to be recalculated, and the simple errors sitting in earnings records that nobody ever checked. Any one of those could be the difference between just getting by and actually breathing a little easier. So here's everything I'm asking of you, and it's small compared to what's at stake. Today, this week, go create that free account and look at your record. Don't put it off, don't assume it's fine, just look. And while you're at it, do the same for the people you love who might never see a video like this. That's the whole reason channels like this exist, to get this information into the hands of the folks who need it most. And that brings me to my last ask, and it's the most important one for keeping this going. I'd genuinely love to hear from you down in the comments. Tell me, did you know about the spousal benefit rule before today? Have you ever checked your earnings record, or is this the first you're hearing of it? And if you've got a question about your own situation, drop it below, because I read these, and your question might be the exact thing someone else needs answered. So let's get a real conversation going in the comments. If this video opened your eyes even a little, do me those 3 quick favors before you go. Hit subscribe so you never miss what's coming next, because there's a lot more where this came from. Share this with someone born before 1964 who needs to hear it, and leave me a comment with your biggest takeaway or your toughest question. You spent a lifetime earning these benefits. The least the system can do is give you every dollar of what's yours, and the least I can do is help you find it. I'm glad you stuck with me all the way to the end, and I'll see you in the next one right here at Retire Mentor. Take care of yourself and go claim what you've earned.